Yo, what's going on, guys? SMH back bringing you guys another reaction video. Today we got a video by B Souls, who really I don't think I've watched one of his videos in a long time. I don't think I've even reacted to one on my channel. I might have like maybe back a while ago that I forgot, but I haven't reacted to a video of his in quite some time. This is the 50 best players in the NBA, according to him, unless he like did like some poll maybe with people that found out who the best was. We're gonna go through it. We're gonna watch it. Should be pretty interesting. And I'm gonna give my takes on it as well. But let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man is trying to make everyone happy.
Also, I don't know if this is gonna be like completely healthy or not, because I mean, guys like Durant, Curry, who else had injuries? Why am I blanking? Blake Griffin. He's had some injuries. I don't know like where all these guys are gonna rank according to this. We'll see.
Is back. It feels good to say that. And today we are back with another video. 2 videos ago, I did my top 50 all-time list. With this break we have, I think it's a good time to reflect on what the NBA landscape is looking right now.
That might be interesting to react to as well. We're gonna react to this, but I might have to react to the top 50 all-time players as well.
Today I'm going to be going over my top 50 players in the NBA as of mid-April 2020. If y'all didn't watch my all-time top 50, the players I will list off will be in order according to my opinion, but I will also be simultaneously incorporating tiers, which generally represent a clump of players that I believe for the most part, emphasis on the most part, are interchangeable. Again, the tiers are still my opinion, but it should ease some of those so-and-so is over so-and-so comments. Like already, I don't agree with the way you ordered them personally, but I see where you're coming from. Also, this list is considering everyone healthy, but also considering how they'll play after their
We're going to see Durant
for example,
likely in the
Kevin
top
Durant will be evaluated
3,
based on
4.
how I think his
I don't think
injury
any
will
lower
affect
than
his
4.
production once he's fully healthy. The same with Klay Thompson, the same with Kyrie Irving, etc., etc. Alright, now that we got the rules and regulations out the way, one last thing. Let me know what y'all think inspired the thumbnail. Hint, it's not an album this time, and also leave a like for more content like this. It helps out a lot. Only takes 5 seconds of your time.
I hit the like button.
But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Now for the honorable mentions, I do want to do some honorable mentions for this video because there are a lot of talented players in the NBA that was cut. Shout out to Jamal Murray, Tobias Harris, Marcus Smart, Fred VanVleet, Dennis Schroeder, Hassan Whiteside, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Norman Powell, Eric Bledsoe, Buddy Hield, Derrick Rose, Brook Lopez,
Bro! BS. This list already sucks. Nah, I gotta see who's gonna be on here. No D Rose though. Okay, I would take D Rose probably over every one of these players. I know Jamal Murray is nice, and I know Dennis Schroeder is having a really good year. But I'd probably take D Rose over every one of these guys.
Collins and Draymond Green, especially Draymond Green, because he's one of those players that really raised the ceiling of a great team, but if he's on a bad team, his talents aren't really put to use. I believe once Stephen Clay do come back next year, I believe he's going to be much more effective, and he will remind people why just a couple years ago he was viewed as an arguably top 20 player in the league. Also, shout out to Blake Griffin, John Wall, and Victor Oladipo, players who can easily change my list depending on how they bounce back from their injuries.
Okay, now that we got will these guys be on the list though? Because I think you gotta have Blake Griffin on the list. At least with what we've seen of him before. Maybe John Wall not, because it's been so long. Oladipo is kind of weird. I don't know, bro.
Got the honorable mentions out the way. Let's go ahead and start listing out the actual top 50. Starting with Montrezl Harrell at 50, TJ Warren at 49, DeAndre Ayton at 48, Nikola Vucevic at 47, Jaren Jackson Jr. at 46, De'Aaron Fox at 45, John Morant at 44, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 43, LaMarcus Aldridge at 42, and Gordon Hayward at 41.
No, I already disagree with a lot on this. Oh my goodness. First of all, TJ Warren is very underrated. I think TJ Warren might be one of the most slept-on players in the NBA. But a lot of the honorable mentions that you put in there, I would take over TJ Warren. I would take Derrick Rose over TJ Warren. I would take Dennis Schroeder over him. I would probably take, is close with him and Tobias Harris. You can kind of go either way. Okay, I'm not too mad about that one. But Jamal Murray, I would probably take over T.J. Warren. DeAndre Ayton, he should be an honorable mention, I think. Um, Jaren Jackson Jr., I'm fine with it, I guess. I guess in the lower 50s is fine. De'Aaron Fox is cool with me. John Morant is cool with me. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is... I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. But I've said in previous videos, I think he's overrated. I think a lot of people overrate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I know he's a great shooter. I know he's a tall 1-2 type of guard. But I don't know, man. I'm not a believer in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. With all the hype that they're putting around him, that people think he might end up being like a Magic Johnson type of prototype, but can actually shoot the ball. Not necessarily as good as Magic. Maybe like who's a tall point guard that could shoot? A lot of tall point guards couldn't really shoot in the NBA. But I mean, the point of the matter is, I personally, and this is a bold prediction, I'm going to say it right here, I don't think he's ever an All-Star in the NBA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander fans can come at me for that. I don't think he'll ever be an All-Star. LaMarcus Aldridge, yeah, he's probably somewhere in there. Gordon Hayward is tough because, see, here's the thing. You can't put Gordon Hayward there, but then you don't have Blake Griffin or Victor Oladipo or John Wall on the list. And I like Gordon Hayward. Trust me, Gordon Hayward, I have a list. I'm not going to put it on here because that'll require extra editing, but I have a list. I think Gordon Hayward's like in my top 30 favorite players of all time. That's how much I like Gordon Hayward. I don't know if he's 41 in the NBA right now. I think a lot of the guys, mainly, and I mean, yes, I'm a Derrick Rose fan, but I think a lot of people would say that they'd take Derrick Rose over some of these guys on here, or even just Dennis Schroeder or Jamal Murray as well. So that's what I gotta say to that.
1. So let's start this video with the first 10, which also means we are starting off with all of tier 6, at least in the top 50.
Montrezl
There might be a
Harrell,
couple more of the honorable
Vucevic,
mentions that actually
they're
belong
probably
in
in a
this
pretty good
tier.
spot.
A couple of things to highlight in this part of the list. 1, John Morant over Jaren Jackson. I know some of y'all think that Jaren Jackson is better than Ja, which you can honestly see that
No,
point,
I
and
think
I
Ja is
myself was
better.
contemplating it, so I put them in the same tier.
I think
But
Jaren
me
Jackson,
personally, I
low
think Ja
key, might be. He's not really overrated, but he might be a little overrated because he's not really a great rebounder. And I know a lot of that is because he's on the perimeter usually, like offensively. But defensively too, you gotta get rebounds. I mean, there's centers that can shoot, that can stretch the floor, like Embiid and Cat, Jokic, and they're getting 10 rebounds a game. So there's no excuse for a guy like you to be getting 4.
Morant is the driving force of that team, which is why I have him ahead of Jaren Jackson. Also, is that Gordon Hayward at 41? Trash Hayward? Look, I must say, Gordon Hayward has definitely proved me wrong this year in terms of his production. And shout out to him for that, because this season
he got hurt again, and this season he was playing really good.
Points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds,
we also got to account for that.
85 splits. But aside from that, not much else to go over in this part of the list.
We got an ad. Will we see this guy on the list? We will find out in probably more than 1 second.
Let's go ahead and move on to the top 40, starting with Zach LaVine at 40, Drew Holiday at 39, Domantas Sabonis at 38, Zion Williamson at 37, DeMar DeRozan at 36, CJ McCollum at 35, D'Angelo Russell at 34, Jaylen Brown at 33, Trae Young at 32, and Devin Booker at 31.
Okay, this is interesting. Now, actually, I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be like, oh, Zach LaVine should be higher. I'm not too mad about where Zach LaVine is, honestly. One thing I will say, though, and another player on this list who I think is very overrated is right at number 34, and that's D'Angelo Russell. I think D'Angelo Russell should be in the 40s, considering he wouldn't have been an all-star last year if it wasn't for injury replacement. And, what would we look at him like? His best season, he brought a team to 42-40. Got beaten 5. I don't know. I think D'Lo is a little overhyped. Domantas Sabonis over Drew Holiday is absurd to me. I think Drew Holiday, sometimes I don't like when people say he's like a top 3, top 4 shooting guard in the league, because I don't think he is. I know he's a great underrated defender, all that stuff. But I don't mind really where Drew Holiday is. I just think he's definitely better than Sabonis. And I would put Zach LaVine over Sabonis too. But yeah, I know you got to account for winning and stuff like that. DeMar DeRozan's really interesting. I think he's very underrated because of how the Spurs are playing this year. But I don't know, man. I would take DeMar DeRozan. I'd take him over D'Angelo Russell for sure. Would I take Zion or DeMar? I'd probably take DeMar still, but yeah, that is very close. So I can understand them being that like that. Booker at 31 is interesting because now it's making me think, where's Donovan Mitchell going to end up? And Trae Young at 32, man.
Now, this is where it starts getting controversial. Zach
CJ
LaVine at 40, the guy averaging 26, 4, and 5 on good shooting splits. Zach LaVine is the 40th best player in the league. Is that Trae Young at 32? Is that Devin Booker at 31? 30 points and 9 assists a game. Trae Young at 32. 26, 7, and 4 on great efficiency.
I just noticed something. You put Devin Booker and Trae Young below Bradley Beal. I can't do that because I think if the Suns were in the East, they'd be a playoff team. And I mean, Trae Young was an all-star starter. Granted, some of that is fan voting, but he probably would have gone in as a bench player anyways. What the frick is this? Are we for real? I can't go with that.
Booker at 31.
Beal is alright. Like, I'm cool with Beal on the list for sure.
This guy's trash.
He's below those guys, definitely.
Look, I swear I'm not just trying to have a hot take. I swear to God. I spent a decent amount of time on this list and making sure I was as consistent as possible. But the reason I genuinely think that the NBA is just this talented. I can't think of an era where you can make an argument that a player who averaged 29 and 9 is at best, that's to the most delusional Trae Young fans, at best, 13. You know, with the names I have above them, I believe a lot of them are just as good offensive players and contribute more to the game, whether that be being a much better player on the defensive end or being a better playmaker, whatever it may be. Just a clarification, what I just said right now is not just for Trae Young. It applies for this group of players like Devin Booker, Zach LaVine, and Trae Young, because I do understand that there are not many better playmakers than him. A couple of the players above him also don't fall in that specific category of being a better offensive player and contributing more to the game, but I am giving them the benefit of the doubt due to their intangibles and their ability to contribute to a winning franchise, which I believe is easier said than done.
Yeah,
that being said, let's go ahead and move
that
on
doesn't
to the
make
top
sense with what we're about to get
30. And
to.
at number 30, we have Chris Middleton, 29 Bradley Beal, 28 Kristaps Porzingis, 27 Bam Adebayo, 26 Brandon Ingram, 25 Kemba Walker, 24 Donovan Mitchell, 23 Kyle Lowry, 22 Rudy Gobert, and 21 Karl Anthony Towns.
More disagreements. Now you also have Chris Middleton below Bradley Beal. Now listen, I don't like if Chris Middleton, I guess, was on his own team, he probably wouldn't be averaging 30 points a game. But you just said you got to account for winning. And I think if we take Giannis off the Bucks, that means Chris Middleton's the best player. And they're probably like, what, a 6-7 seed in the East? Which is still winning more than the Wizards. Kristaps I'm not too mad about because, I mean, he has had some injuries. Bam I'm cool with. Ingram I'm cool with. Kemba, Donovan Mitchell. I like Donovan Mitchell. I was surprised that big of a gap between him and Booker, though. I would probably give Mitchell a slight edge over Booker, just because, you know, he's been able to get to the playoffs and stuff like that, but I don't know. Kyle Lowry, Rudy Gobert, and Towns. See, I think Mitchell is the best player in the Jazz. I don't think, yes, Gobert is very important on defense, but, and I mean, it wouldn't really be a good argument this year because they got guys like Bogdanovich and Conley, but say like last year and the year before, if you take Mitchell off the Jazz, it's just as important, if not more important, than taking Gobert off Utah as well, because then they have like no offense in the past years. Now they got Conley, they got Bogdanovich, they got Clarkson, and I mean that's kind of unfortunate for that. I would take Mitchell over Gobert. Karl Anthony Towns, I think I would agree he's better than just about everybody we've seen so far.
Again, more controversial placements, and I was honestly surprised as well because of where I thought they ranked prior to making this list. But again, to highlight some of the problems some of you guys might have with this part of the list, number 1, Bradley Beal.
Actually, yeah, I do have a problem with Ingram. I don't think Ingram should be that high. If you were to ask me, I think No, I don't know. Ingram should be like around somewhere between 30 to 33 range.
A guy averaging 31 points, 6 and 5 on good shoot splits is being placed at 29. I place him there for the same reason I placed Devin Booker, Trae Young, and Zach LaVine where they are. Because I do think that their stats are inflated due to A, the pace of the league,
Two of those three guys were an all-star. I'll give you Beal over LaVine. I'm not even arguing that.
On the
As a
defensive
Bulls
end,
fan.
no pun intended, has been kind of
The other two I don't get.
For these players, I really did try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it would just be hypocritical on my part to have, let's say, Kristaps Porzingis over Trae Young, but not over Bradley Beal, when the reason I have Porzingis over Trae Young perfectly applies to Bradley Beal as well. The placement of players like Kemba Walker, Kyle Lowry, and D. Mitch over those players who are putting up these crazy numbers are attributed to that contributor.
Personally, I put Porzingis below both of them, or all three of them, if you want to. All four of them, if you want to include Beal, Middleton, Booker, Trae Young. I'd probably put Porzingis honestly below DeMar DeRozan as well. Maybe like right next to Zion. That's probably where I'd put him right now. Now, obviously, you could get back to what he used to be, but yeah.
Earlier. But what about Karl Anthony Towns? Because he seems like a player that should also be in the lower 20s, based on everything I've just said. And you know what? I completely understand why he's saying he is a player who is not that good defensively, who is putting up monstrous offensive numbers, who isn't winning. Just like Devin Booker, Zach LaVine, Trae Young.
Yeah, if you guys remember, the 1 year that they had Jimmy Butler there, and for most of the season they were in third, I believe a lot of the analysts in the offseason said, who would you build your team around? Like, what player in the league? And I think the most votes went to Towns. So, I think whoa. Spoilers. Oh my goodness. But I think he could be a top 10 talent in the league. He just needs something around him.
But the way I look at it, a 6'11" center, averaging 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists on 51, 41 splits, shooting 8 3 is much different from a guard averaging 25 plus points per game in today's league. There's more you can do to stop a scoring guard or a scoring wing than you can to a 6'11" center of that talent. Those numbers and the skill set are so ridiculous that me putting him at 21, in my opinion, is the lowest I can go. Now let's move on to the top 20.
Another ad. Who's going to be in the top 20? We've seen a lot of Steph Curry.
A freshman. I didn't take a chance at try.
Flight would agree.
Starting with Ben Simmons at 20, Pascal Siakam at 19, Klay Thompson at 18, Chris Paul at 17, Joel Embiid at 16, Jason Tatum at 15, Paul George at 14, Jimmy Butler at 13, Russell Westbrook at 12, and Kyrie Irving at 11.
Wow, bro, this is really interesting. So first of all, Ben Simmons above Towns. I guess I can see it because Simmons is pretty important, and they've won some games with just him. Siakam, not going to argue really too much. I think he's definitely above Lowry. He's the best player in the Raptors. Klay Thompson, it's kind of hard with his injury. Chris Paul, sure. Having Tatum over Embiid is really throwing me off. And don't get me wrong, Tatum is nice. Over Embiid, though, I don't know. Paul George, that's fine because he's had injuries this year. Jimmy, below Westbrook and Kyrie. Now, I was not a fan of how the last season with Jimmy was with the Bulls. Even though I'm a Bulls fan, I kind of have a little bit of negative energy towards Jimmy in a sense. But I still think he's way more important to a team winning than both Kyrie and Westbrook. And that's not a knock on them. I just think that Jimmy is capable of doing that. I think Jimmy should be 11. I'd probably put Paul George at 12. I mean, after all, he was a top 3 MVP candidate last year, and his teammate Westbrook wasn't. But I'd put Paul George probably 12. Then if you want to put Kyrie and Westbrook, however order you want, sure. But yeah.
So again, let's go over some of the problems you guys might have with this part of the list. Number 1, the Embiid to Ben Simmons placement, and more specifically Embiid being 4 spots higher than Ben Simmons, and also in a different tier. Now I'm going to be honest in my revisions. There was a draft where I had Ben Simmons over Embiid, and in that draft they were also right next to each other. So if you're watching this video, you do have the context of knowing that I do believe that they are much closer than even what my own list makes it seem. However, the reason I changed it to the way I did is because if I move Embiid closer to 20, that would mean that I'd be saying Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, and Siakam are better, which I just don't agree with. But then if you move Ben Simmons closer to 16 where Embiid is right now, that would mean that I'm saying that those three players are not better than Ben Simmons, which again, I don't agree with. So it's more so of a consistency decision than it was a statement about Embiid being much better than Ben Simmons.
I'd probably, if I'm taking a guy for my team, I'd probably take Simmons over Siakam, which might be surprising. I just think it's better to build around him because you have more of an identity with, spacing out shooters around him. Looking at Chris Paul, that's tough. I don't know if I could put Ben Simmons over Chris Paul right now. And who's the other one? Klay? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of tough because Klay's been injured. I probably wouldn't put Simmons over Klay, at least not yet.
By what my list actually says, I do believe that they are around the same tier and are closer than what my list makes it seem. Also, let's talk about Klay Thompson and Kyrie, because they are two of the three players I mentioned in the beginning of this video when it pertains to injuries affecting their ranking. And with what I said earlier, why are they so high on this list? Well, for one, while Klay's injury was definitely a serious one, I honestly don't expect that much of a drop-off from him even after his injury. I still believe he'll be the elite shooter we've always known him as. He'll still be a great wing defender. Maybe not as good as he was before.
I can't see you putting Kyrie over Jimmy because Kyrie is on a team that even though they have Durant injured, they still had a better supporting cast than, if we're saying Kyrie is better than D'Angelo Russell, right, and they won 42 games last year, you think that their win percentage would be better with Kyrie than it was with D'Angelo Russell. And I know he's been injured for some games, but even in their games, I believe they were under 500 in the games that Kyrie played. Whereas Jimmy Butler went to a Miami Heat team that missed the playoffs last year, didn't really do anything else. They just added Jimmy. That was about it. And I mean, I guess gave more role to Bam, of course, because they got rid of Whiteside. But that was it. And now they're one of the top teams in the East. I gotta take Jimmy.
But as long as those two things don't take a drastic fall off, I don't
think
the effectiveness will change that much from before his injury.
And I mean,
Kyrie, on the other hand, in my opinion,
too,
has proven throughout his career that he can bounce back from numerous amounts of injuries and still play at a high level. And as far as leadership and stuff like that goes, I've already made a separate video on how I believe all of that is just blown way out of proportion, so that didn't really affect my rankings. Push comes to shove, Kyrie Irving is going to be a 25-point-per-game caliber player on great efficiency, be one of the best shot creators and closers in the league, and will be in a position that everyone has been saying he will thrive in, right? As a second option. So in that sense, I'm giving Kyrie the benefit of the doubt. However, I will say for the first time ever, I am fully open to anyone who believes Westbrook is better than Kyrie from one, a reliability standpoint, and two, his improvement this year in terms of efficiency has really closed that gap as well.
For sure.
And while yes, I know that in a way it is a knock on him that he needs the greatest spacing in history just to average 48% from the field, but the truth is, this is going to be the player we'll be watching for the next 2-3 years. A guy who's going to be capable of putting up 26 to 28 points per game, around 7 to 8 rebounds and assists, and shoot 46 to 48% from the field. If every argument for him is just countered with, but he's in this system though, because yes, his numbers are affected by his system, but systems do create players and playstyles, and that's just the nature of the game. Also, for him to be doing what he's doing as a second option to a team that was going to win 51 to 53 games goes against a lot of the criticism against him the past 2 years, so once again, shout out to Russell Westbrook for that. Y'all probably never thought you'd hear me praise Russell Westbrook, but here I am. The last thing I want to talk about in this part of the list is Jason Tatum's placement, because some might make the claim that I'm jumping the gun too much for quote-unquote just a month of play. But the reality is for the entirety of the season, Jason Tatum has been averaging 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists on great shooting splits while being a great defender, one of the best shot creators.
The other thing I would argue is that, I feel like a lot of people underrate Donovan Mitchell too, because I would argue that Donovan Mitchell is just as good, maybe even better than Jason Tatum. I know Tatum's a better defender, but he's definitely close, for sure. I think they're probably maybe 2-3 spots away. I believe Mitchell's averaging more points, more assists. I think he's shooting better. He might be shooting better from the field than 3 as well. Maybe not 3, but I think he might be shooting better from the field and in less minutes as well on a just as good team record-wise in a tougher conference from what most say. I don't know, man. You could go either way, but I think they're definitely close. I'm not mad people picking Tatum over him, but still.
It's way 55
Definitely a
this season.
closer
I
argument.
just don't see how that
Not
production
like,
isn't
what was
up
it,
there
9
with the likes of
spots
Jimmy
different?
Butler, Paul
I disagree
George,
with
and
that.
Russell Westbrook. But I think that's enough about the 20 to 11 spots. It's time to talk about my top 10. And coming in at number 10, we have Damian Lillard. Number 9, Nikola Jokic. Number 8, Luka Doncic. Number 7, Kevin Durant. Number 6, Anthony Davis. Number 5, James Harden. Number 4, Stephen Curry. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 2, LeBron James. And number 1, Kawhi Leonard.
Alright, we're going to talk about this. Number 10, I don't mind Lillard and Jokic both in the top 10. I think they're probably near the bottom of the top 10 for sure. Having Luka at 8. I get Luka's doing insane things. He's almost averaging a 30-point triple-double. But he's also a liability on the defensive end. Now, I know those guys are as well. But, I mean, Jokic is on one of the best teams in the league, record-wise. And, of course, Lillard isn't, but look at the injuries this team has had this year. You know, and I know, yes, the Mavericks, they haven't been completely healthy either. But they have a ton of depth around them. Like, Portland added a bunch of new pieces. I don't think they played one game this year with everyone healthy. You have to take that into account. This is a guy that just made the conference finals last year. I would still have Lillard and what he's doing. Like, do you remember what he did in, what was it, January? He was going crazy. He didn't even win Player of the Month because I think they gave it to LeBron or something. He was like Player of the League. He was the MVP of the decade so far at that point until, of course, he got hurt. I don't know. If you want to put Luka 10, sure. I'd probably put Jimmy Butler over Luka as well. Put Luka over Paul George, sure. But nah, I got Jokic and Lillard above him, and this keeps popping up. Now, Durant, that's interesting. Oh my God. All this stuff. Durant is interesting. I can understand why you put him there because, like, we don't know how good he's going to be. But from what we've seen, I put him above Anthony Davis. I put him above James Harden. I put him above Steph Curry, and I put him above Giannis as well. And that's interesting because Giannis is going to be probably back-to-back MVP of the league. You could argue him over LeBron because he is, I'd say, a better defender at this point in their career. But again, we don't know. So I think putting him at 3, maybe even 4, is probably fine with Durant. And I'm actually not going to argue anything else. I think 3 through 6, those guys are in the right order for those 4. Maybe you could switch Anthony Davis and James Harden. But I personally think Kawhi is the best player in the league right now. And that's not a knock against LeBron or anything like that. LeBron is still at least a top 3 talent in the league, you know, it's Kawhi, LeBron, and probably Giannis right now. Maybe top 4 if you want to get really picky and put Durant and Giannis over him, whatever. That's still insane, especially for a guy at his age and with his experience. But I think Kawhi does it on both ends of the floor. And I think it will come in the playoff times if there is a playoffs this year. Because I believe the last few times Kawhi's guarded LeBron, he's held him to low efficiency numbers, whereas it doesn't really affect Kawhi too much, and he's still able to get his on offense.
Now, let's just get right into it. Dame being a tier above Russ and Kyrie, yeah, I think he deserves it. Dame just came off a season where he led the Blazers to the Western Conference Finals, and this season has undoubtedly been the best point guard in the league. Well, unless you consider LeBron and Harden, and maybe you think Russ is better. Okay, let's go with the majority of people believing that he's the best point guard in the league this season, as he's been averaging 29 points on great efficiency and 8 assists with a really good assist-to-turnover ratio. Now, granted, the Blazers have struggled, and I can see why you might believe that it's hypocritical of me to put him there, especially after my rant about Bradley Beal and Devin Booker and them early on, because it seems like he does fit in that category. But I challenge you to make a list and put Damian Lillard at 20. It just wouldn't make any sense. Also, the difference is Damian Lillard has already proven that he can be a leader of a playoff team. A leader of a team that made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and has been doing this for 3+ years now. That's the difference. Next up, I want to talk about the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to my top 10, because up to this point, it seems like I've been optimistic about all the injured players. Despite their injuries, I still have Kyrie at 11, I still have Klay Thompson at 18, and even in my top 10, I still have Stephen Curry at 4. But again, Kyrie Irving has proven to bounce back from a lot of injuries, and he's still yet to have a major career-shifting injury.
Has Durant not bounced back from injury? In 2015, didn't he play like 27 games? And then he came back the next year good. Like, he was still seen as a top 2, maybe top 3 player in the league. I think that was Kawhi's big year where he like broke out mainly in like a star. Still a top 3 player in the league though.
Would I really hope nothing happens. His problem is a lot of small injuries adding up. But once again, he hasn't really shown that those small injuries can affect his play dramatically once he heals from them. Klay Thompson, again, I don't think he'll be affected much by his injury because of the way he plays. Stephen Curry had a hand injury on his offhand. While yes, I know that's still important, I do have full confidence that he'll be fully healthy after getting a lot of time, and he didn't have an injury that would affect how he moves on the court in terms of his legs. But Kevin Durant, on the other hand, tore his Achilles. In history, only Dominique Wilkins has fully come back from that injury like nothing happened.
And he relied a lot on athleticism too. You gotta remember, Kevin Durant is a really good shooter as well. So he's gonna be working mainly on his jumper. Yes, he does have some like athleticism that comes up every now and then. He might put someone on a poster like every once in a while. But he doesn't rely on that. Like, he could probably give you 25 points per game on strictly jump shots.
We're still dropping 28 to 29 points a game, which is insane.
Really
and while yes, Kevin Durant did suffer an injury in 2015 that sidelined him for a while, and he came back in 2016 and pushed a 73-win Warriors team to 7 games, while that injury was a serious one, this one is a torn Achilles. Just take some time to research how serious this injury is and how many players have come back from it successfully. I put Kevin Durant at 7 on the assumption that he'll come back and be a 25 to 26 point per game scorer, or grabbing 5 to 6 rebounds, or 4 to 5 assists a game, or like 47, 37, 85 splits, all while being a less effective player on the defensive end because of how the injury would affect his movement. That's still a great player, don't get me wrong, and I will say that if he does fully recover, then by all means put him back in tier 1 with those guys. But until I actually see that happen, as far as I'm concerned, 7 is the highest I could put him right now. Now, Curry being tier 1 is me just giving him a pass for the 2020 season, and just assuming that would be where he was in the 2019 season. Next season, LeBron over Giannis, while it sounds like it would be a hypocritical statement, after I made a video on how Giannis should be the unanimous MVP, I don't believe that's a hypocritical statement because I've said numerous times, actually I just said in my last video, that the MVP race does not indicate who's a better player. But I will say, depending on how the playoffs play out, if they play out, that could totally change my top 3. And last but not least, to explain Kawhi at 1, I just believe that his postseason run last year proved that he was the best player in the league. And after the finals, no one had anything to say when people claimed that Kawhi was the best player. And since then, Kawhi has maintained that production. The Clippers are still going to win 56 to 57 games, which is not the 65 that the Lakers were on pace to do, but it's still nothing to be ashamed of. And I just don't believe that LeBron leading the Lakers to a top seed in the regular season, after all the additions they made in the offseason, changes that. And when it comes to Giannis, the argument for Giannis over Kawhi last season is essentially the same this year, with the margin being bigger because of the Bucks having more wins and Giannis being a better shooter. But again, the playoffs showed a different result. And while I was really anticipating the playoffs to settle that dispute at the top 3 for me, until that happens, this is my order. But once again, I do believe that they are in the same tier. And after
and I'm gonna stop it there because I mean we kind of already know the list, but hope you guys enjoyed. This is just my thoughts on his list. There are a lot of questionable things on here for sure. But then again, this is his opinions. It's not going to be like the end-all, be-all like list or whatever like that. You could probably argue just about every single player on this list in a different position. But hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out. Peace.